Fox News host Tucker Carlson says that a whistleblower reached out to warn him about the fact that he's being spied on by the Biden administration.
The Biden administration is spying on us. We have confirmed that. This morning we filed a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act request, asking for all information that the NSA and other agencies have gathered about this show. We did it mostly as a formality. We've also contacted the press office at both NSA and the FBI. We don't expect to hear much back. That's the way that usually goes. Only Congress can force transparency on the intelligence agencies, and they should do that immediately. Spying on opposition journalists is incompatible with democracy. If they are doing it to us, and again, they are definitely doing it to us, they are almost certainly doing it to others.
Could there be truth to this? Joining me now to answer this question is the very talented progressive commentator Farron Cousins from the Trial Lawyer magazine. I got to tell you, Farron, I have very little problem believing this. When I've seen the history, I remember James Clapper appearing in front of Congress after he lied to Congress and had to admit that he lied to the Congress about spying on thousands and thousands of Americans. This is not hard to believe at all.
Right. I mean, if you understand the history of the NSA, the FBI, CIA, all of these organizations, as you already mentioned, for generations, they have been spying on American citizens, and they do pay particularly close attention to journalists, activists. You know, we've seen it with the oil pipeline activists. We've seen it with journalists. Recently, the CNN reporter that the Trump administration was spying on, Obama, his administration was spying on reporters from the Associated Press. So is it plausible? 100%. This is what our government does routinely. Yeah. So I think there's definitely a possibility it's real. If it was a different person saying this, I might, be 100%. Tucker, I am skeptical of given his history, but this is something that does happen.
Have we really gotten to the point, Farron, where Democrats and progressives are so frigging tribal, that that they have an inability to analyze the facts in front of them because of the personality involved? I mean, what if this was Jason Muir? What if this was Lester Holt? What if there's a people that we watch every night on the news and hope we can believe them? The point is, you see, it's this dumbing down process of politics right now.
Yeah.
And this scares the hell out of me if you want to know the truth. Because here you got people like James Clapper. I mean, the guy's a bureaucratic thug. You've got John Brennan, who we know his history. My God, he's never seen a war he didn't want to start. He's part of the weapons industry. Now he's working as a commentator for MSNBC because he said everything MSNBC wanted him to say. So I got to dig into this. I'm really troubled by this tribal notion. We can't believe it because it's this guy.
Right, and I'm not willing to write off that, that Tucker's lying completely. He has a history, obviously, of saying things that are not true. His own lawyers had argued in court, no reasonable person's going to take what he says at face value. But again, what does he have to gain from lying about this, too? That's the other side you have to look at, because obviously we don't have the evidence right now. So does he gain anything from making these claims? I don't think he does.
I can't figure it out. I mean,
right.
Look, Rachel Maddow's defense in court was, you can't believe what she says. She's an entertainer. So, that doesn't move me. What moves me is when you recall what Howard Zinn, I've interviewed Howard Zinn before his death. Chalmers Johnson, we interviewed him together before his death. These are people who wrote the most important things ever written about the dangers of the military complex. And this is all this is. This is an extension of the military complex. John Brennan has always been out there pitching for the military complex. James Clapper has. It's impossible for me to believe. Well, we know this, don't we? We know Clapper admitted he says they collected, they stored, and they monitored American communications with no warrant, and he only did that because Snowden caught them. That's the only reason he did it.
Yeah, and what we have now, too, with this massive surveillance state that we've created here in the United States, every time they get caught for it, they come out with the same lines. Oh, well, this only happened. We only surveilled these 16,000 people because there was a typo in the order. Or, well, it was written a little too broadly and people who weren't supposed to be surveilled got surveilled. But again, we are talking about tens of thousands of people in the last few years alone that get swept up into this, and every time it's some stupid excuse of, oh, it was typos, broad orders. They weren't the target. They were just, somebody the target had spoken to. And that's a good point to mention, too, in the NSA's denial that they're spying on Tucker Carlson.
Right.
They said, no, he's not a target.
Right.
And that leaves a lot of room for interpretation.
Well, he's part of the sweep.
Yeah.
We wasn't a target, but now that we targeted this person, I'm going to talk about this a little long. We'll take a little less time on the next segment. But the X-Key score. I mean, this was a notorious dragnet. We all know. I mean, nobody's making that up.
Right.
We know about it. And this was driven and has been driven by the last 3 presidential administrations. Okay, there ain't. There's no difference. There is no difference.
Right.
It's like you and I talked about. They have this exclusive club, and you know what? You might think you're in it, but you ain't in it. You could be the loud progressive who's coming out and saying, well, I know the high ground. You ain't in this club we're talking about now. If you think you are in la la land. So we got to do more on this story. To me, I walk away and I say, how in the world did we let James Clapper go with committing perjury in front of Congress?
Right. If that had been any other person, especially over the last 4 years, if that had been a member of the Trump administration, the liberals would be calling for his head to roll. But this happened. He testified, I guess it was during the Obama administration, admitted he lied, and let's let him go. But this spying operation here is very well developed. It's been going on for generations here. I mean, a lot of the people you're mentioning too, they were part of the Clinton administration. And it goes even further than that. You and I have talked about the church committee hearings.
Frank Church Committee,
right.
Very good point.
We've talked about, Martin Luther King being surveilled, and they wanted him to commit suicide, or else we're going to make it seem like you had an affair. This is what the government does. I mean, nothing that Tucker Carlson has claimed, we'll see if the evidence supports it. However, history does support it. History does say the government does these things, and everybody just kind of whistles past the graveyard on it. And it's crazy.
Corporate media won't deal with it, right? Because the arms industry spends so much money with them. You've got a legislature that won't do anything about it. You've got people like Tucker Carlson. I don't have anything in common with his politics. Right. Nothing. But he is isolated, and to have these dwibs out there that are progressive, tribal, Democrats not understand how dangerous this is for them. They need to figure out that this administration is not always going to be here, and when it has to do with some progressive being targeted, then maybe they'll start paying attention.
Well, and that's a lot what people say, the slippery slope of the media ban, or not media, but the social media banning somebody. Oh, it's a slippery slope. It could lead to this, this, and this. No, the spying one is an even bigger slippery slope. I mean, I know for a fact, I've had my name and my reporting mentioned in internal Interior Department emails. A friend of mine who got hands on a big batch of them, she sent it to me one time and said, just thought you'd want to know this.
How'd that make you feel?
It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.